Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we're diving into something literally everyone deals with, our relationships. I mean, we all want good ones, right? And we generally try to be kind. But here's the core premise we really need to unpack today. Good intentions, they are often just not enough to prevent friction in our day-to-day lives. We're going to look closely at the gap between what we mean to do and how we actually make people feel.
Let's jump right in and put you in the hot seat. When someone disagrees with you, do you genuinely try to understand their perspective, or are you secretly just waiting for your turn to speak so you can prove them wrong? Honestly, be real with yourself here. It's a tough question, I know, but it really forces us to look at our actual behavior rather than, the idealized version of ourselves we like to imagine.
All right, here's a second challenging question for you. When the pressure is really on, when you're stressed out or just completely exhausted, do you manage to stay respectful? Or do you end up snapping at your partner over the dishes or losing your temper with your kids? It's kind of a painful irony of human nature, isn't it? We often unleash our unfiltered, absolute worst emotions in the exact places where we feel the safest.
And let's look at one final, slightly uncomfortable truth. Do you treat the barista, the mail carrier, or even just a random stranger on the street with more patience and politeness than the people actually living in your own home? Often, our effort and our respect drop with our loved ones simply because, we assume they're never going to leave us. We value what we fear losing, so we're super careful with strangers, but we get incredibly casual, maybe a little too casual, with our family.
Now listen, if any of those questions stung a little bit, take a breath. It's completely okay. You are not a bad person at all. You're just running unhelpful neurological patterns that you probably never learned how to fix. And today, we're going to unpack exactly how to rewire those patterns using the brilliant insights from our source material, How to Treat People Right by Shadow Books. The author makes one thing absolutely clear. Respect is a skill. It's not a personality trait. And the best part? Skills can be learned. Let's move into Section 1, The Hidden Saboteur, Why We Treat People Poorly. To figure out why we act poorly, we've got to look at the psychology behind our behavior. This actually helps lower our ego defenses a bit. Look at this massive disconnect between our intentions and our real impact. We constantly judge ourselves by our good intentions, right? We think, I didn't mean to sound harsh, or I was just trying to help. But the text points out a crucial truth. Impact matters way more than intent. The other person doesn't experience your inner thoughts or your pure intentions. They react entirely to your energy, your tone, your body language, and the actual impact of the words coming out of your mouth. A massive culprit behind this whole disconnect is emotional reactivity. See, the human brain is incredibly efficient, which basically means it chooses speed over accuracy. When you're stressed, tired, or triggered, your brain relies on fast, automatic shortcuts. It literally prioritizes a quick defense over thoughtful connection. This is exactly why we snap, withdraw, or get instantly defensive before logic or those good intentions can even kick in. Our emotions just grab the wheel and self-awareness completely drops.
And this quote brilliantly illustrates the biological reality of our behavior. Stress shrinks empathy. I really want you to let that powerful idea sink in. When you're stressed out, your brain shifts into survival mode. Your focus narrows dramatically, your self-focus spikes, and suddenly the people around you don't feel like individuals with feelings anymore. They just feel like obstacles in your way. It's not personal, it's just pure neurological survival.
Because of this stressed reactive state, we fall into some massive communication flaws. Most people think they're good listeners, but in reality, they're just listening to reply. Your brain sees a disagreement as a threat. So instead of genuinely trying to connect with what the other person is saying, your ego steps in to protect itself. You start drafting your response, defending yourself, or mapping out your brilliant advice while the other person is literally still talking.
Which brings us to Section 2, the behavioral shift, the 4-step respect framework.
So how do we actually break those automatic habits? Well, the author lays out a really practical, everyday framework to help you build intentional relational habits. It's beautifully simple, but here's the catch. It requires consistency. Step 1 is to regulate yourself, and this must happen before a single word is spoken. You literally cannot treat people right if your internal state is chaotic. Moving to Step 2, you pay attention to impact by actively asking yourself how your words or tone might land. Step 3 asks you to listen to understand, which takes real restraint to let the other person actually finish. And finally, Step 4, respond clearly and, most importantly, calmly.
Now, the absolute crucial point is found right here. The power of the pause. This is your ultimate secret weapon against emotional reactivity, and it's the total core of step 1. Taking a brief 2 to 3 second pause to take one slow breath and consciously relax your shoulders and jaw, it actually interrupts your brain's reactive autopilot. It creates just enough calm for you to actually choose your response, rather than reacting blindly and spitting out something you're definitely going to have to apologize for tomorrow.
Here's a really powerful truth from the book. Respect fades quietly. Connection dies slowly. Trust breaks silently. Think about that. Relationships usually don't end overnight because of some massive dramatic betrayal. They end through small, daily, unaware interactions. The sarcastic tone, the constant interrupting, the avoided conversations. People just sort of drift away for reasons we never even notice until it's entirely too late.
All right, moving into section 3, the application, mistakes that destroy relationships.
Let's shine a light on the exact errors that cause that silent erosion of trust we just talked about. These are your hidden relationship saboteurs. First up is invalidating feelings. Saying things like you're overreacting or it's not a big deal. Even if you are logically right, dismissing someone's feelings creates instant distance. Then there's using a harsh tone. Remember, tone carries way more weight than your actual words. Avoiding difficult conversations because they're uncomfortable, that just lets tension build and build. And expecting mind reading, assuming, well, if they cared, they'd notice, that is a guaranteed recipe for deep, long-term resentment.
Okay, section 4, the roadmap, the 7-day relationship reset.
To fix these saboteurs, the book outlines a step-by-step plan to rewire your behavior in small, totally manageable doses so you don't get overwhelmed. Let's look at the highest yield days. Day 2 is your foundation. Your only goal is to pause and regulate. Literally every time you feel annoyed, just take that 2-second breath. By day 3, you're listening fully. No interrupting allowed, no rushing to offer solutions. On day 4, you focus entirely on softening your tone, because lowering your voice instantly creates emotional safety. And finally, day 5 brings in simple appreciation. Saying a genuine thank you rebuilds the connection in relationships where familiarity has maybe made you take each other for granted.
Ultimately, applying this reset forces a really tough choice. You have to contrast your ego against your deeper human needs. Your ego has this superficial desire to win the argument, to prove a point, and to be right. But our actual, much more fulfilling human need is for connection. We want a stable, safe, and respectful relationship. And you know what? You often cannot have both in the middle of a conflict. You have to choose.
The author suggests making this massive perspective shift. Stop asking yourself, am I a good person? Honestly, that question just keeps you trapped in defending your own intentions. Instead, start asking, do people feel good around me? Do they feel safe? Do they feel heard? Moving away from judging your own intent to evaluating your actual real-world impact on others, it changes absolutely everything about how you interact.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought drawn straight from the text. I want to leave you with this question hanging in the air. Do you want to be right all the time, or do you want better relationships? Because respect isn't just about what you feel inside, it's about the consistent, regulated behavior you show to the world, even when it's hard. So think about your interactions today. Take that 2-second pause. Soften your tone. I really hope this explainer has given you the tools to not just want better relationships, but to go out there and actively build them.